All right, now that I'm focused, I wanted to make a tutorial that went into our pre-writing stage of our essay. Now, you don't have to turn your pre-write in, but we will have an outline due next week. Now, a lot of students have yet to get on the discussion board, and it's Thursday at noon, almost noon on Thursday. So make sure that you are on that discussion board here really soon, because those discussion points will end because we need to get into outlining and all that for our essay. Um, but again, I just want to make a video that talks about pre-writing as we lead to outlining. So we're going to have some stages here. Let me share my screen. We're going to have some stages here. And again, this preliminary stage, it's not this what we're going to get into. What I'm going to talk about today is it doesn't have a due date or assignment. It's just called the pre-write, right? Where are we at? Pre-writing. So pre-writing, it's completely up to you. There are different types of pre-writing that we cover in my in-person class, and it's what we talked about today. And so I highly suggest once you get your topic, once you get your idea of what you want to discuss, you start pre-writing and getting ready for that thesis statement. And then again, next week we will have an outline due, but this is like to get ideas ready for your outline. So pre-writing are things like making a table that we're going to do here in just a moment. There's making a list that we're going to do here in this video. There's brainstorming, B-R-A-I-N, yeah. And then there's focus free writing, which is kind of first. Right. So let's get into what are these things? Pre-writing. This is all called pre-writing. And I want to make this really quick. And I want to make this really quick. So these are all pre-writing techniques, right? How to pre-write, pre-writing techniques. And pre-writing means before I write. It's simply to get some ideas down. I want to get some ideas down. So focus free writing, right? Let's say I'm going to focus free write. No spacing, Times New Roman here. So they're all pre-writing techniques are all techniques that I'm going to do to get going. All right, so focus free writing is the first one. Focus free writing is just like it says, it's just like it says, it's where we just free write on a topic. So I'm just going to go ahead and stay with the new Wednesday Addams. So I don't worry about grammar, I don't worry about spelling, I just free write. So when the new Wednesday came out, I was excited because I grew up with Wednesday. Whoops, it's supposed to be a period. Anyway, I watched the movies as a kid. When I watched the Netflix Wednesday, I liked the story and the monsters. Good grief. Right. So focus free write is just that. It's where we just focus free write for like 2 minutes and we time ourselves for 2 or 3 minutes and we just focus free or until we feel like we've got everything down on paper that we think about this. Like I can't think of anything else to write about in my focus free write. I got some ideas down on what I want to do, right? I'm not much of a focus free writer, if you could tell, but focus free write is really good. Or maybe I don't know what I want to write about. So I'm going to say, if I was home alone for a day, then I would really watch Wednesday true crime on TV and listen to music, right? So I'm just going to focus, what would I do? What would I watch? So if I have no idea what to write about, hopefully you have a little bit of an idea by now, but if you don't know what you're going to write about, a focus free write will help you get that also. All right, so a table is just as it sounds, is where we insert a table. So we're going to insert. Now, I would just do this by hand, but I can't really point the camera down to my hand. I mean, maybe I could, but that'd be a little bit hard to do. So a table, we're going to do 3 because I'm going to do the 1960s Wednesday, the 1990s Wednesday, and the 2020s Wednesday, right? And that's where I just make a table. And I watch and I say, okay, she's a young child. She's fun. She's happy, right? So I'm going to start thinking about how is Wednesday, why are these all underlined? So I'm going to start thinking about how is Wednesday different or the same from the 1960s, from the 1990s, and 2020, right? But whenever I'm doing this, I'm just going to put, I'm going to put her personality traits, right? So I get to the 1990s. Now she's stoic and she is angry. She's monotone, right? So I'm going to start writing some things about her, right? Whenever I get to 2020, she's still stoic and angry and monotone, but now she's a teenager. Like she wants to impress a boy, right? She has faults. We start seeing some faults in her. We start seeing some issues with her. She's very intelligent, right? We start seeing these things about Wednesday Addams in 2020. So that's a table. That's a pre-write where I start writing about a table, right? I start writing this table. And then a list is a lot like a table, but I like to do like the verses. And so I would put, a list is like young versus older. And then we go to happy versus angry. Anyway, a list is a lot like a table. You just start listing differences and similarities, right? So that's another table you can do. You can also put differences and similarities, but a list is where you just start listing ideas, or it's kind of like this, where you just put young, child, fun, happy, but you make it in a list instead of a table, right? I'm going to pause it for a second so I can draw up something for brainstorming. All right, so here we have some brainstorming going on. Now, of course, this is a lot easier whenever you're writing it on a piece of paper. I had to go and make little ovals and lines and all that. But brainstorming, and I'm not going to put her as a child here because I would have to have a third brainstorm down here, and that's kind of hard. But brainstorming is where we put like Netflix Wednesday. Right, so we have the word Netflix Wednesday. It's gonna Can I put a period? Nope, can't put a period. Anyway, so we have something like Netflix Wednesday, and I start thinking, okay, what is Netflix Wednesday like? So I'm like, she's a teenager, right? She is very smart, right? She is dark, a lot of dark humor, especially, right? She's very dark. And I start putting some ideas about Netflix Wednesday here. And let's say she has like super abilities. She has what is it? Anyway, let's say musician camp. She's at camp, so that's different, right? So then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to think about 1990 Wednesday. Right, and I'm gonna start thinking about, okay, what about she's a child there? She's outcast. Right, that's a different one here. So maybe not camp. She's not really an outcast anymore because she's just like everybody else. So she's included here, but she's an outcast over here. And so a brainstorm is just where we start thinking about, we draw some circles and some lines and some other circles on our paper, and we start brainstorming this idea of how is Wednesday, how is our person different, the same. We just start getting some ideas about that person, right? Now, I'm a table person. I've always made tables and lists. That's just, I'm meeting with a friend of mine here in just a moment for lunch. And I've made a list of what I want to talk to him about. Anyway, I'm just a lister. So I usually make a table and a list. So I would definitely fill out, the 1960s example and what that character is like here, the 1990s example, my 2020s example. I would make a really big table as a pre-write. All right, so here's some different types of pre-writes. We have a focus free write to get some ideas down. We can make a table, we can make a list, we can do some brainstorming. It's whatever you want to do to get those ideas down. And you don't have to get that to me, but it will help you develop a thesis statement. So next week, we're going to have a thesis statement, and we're going to start outlining our essays next week, right? So the beginning of next week, we're going to start outlining. So you definitely need to get on the discussion board, get some ideas down on what you want to outline, what you want to write, do some these pre-write techniques, and do some of these pre-write techniques and finish that discussion board this week so we can start outlining our first essay next week, because that outline is coming up due by the end of next week, I believe. All right, now let's see. The outline is due. I have to look. The outline is due, and then I'll hop over here and take a look. So the outline is coming up due, and then stop share. The outline is coming up due, and then the I'm gonna pause it and look at when it's due. All right, so the outline is due by next Friday, the 13th, and then after that, we will definitely we'll start working on that draft. That'll be due the beginning of the following week, so we can make sure we have a draft before we go into the essay. The essay is due after that Monday, and so have it due on a Monday. I think I'd rather have it. I think I thought that was a Wednesday, but it's really around about that Wednesday, so we can work on actually writing the essay. So we can't have the outline due on a Friday, and an entire week later the draft is due. We have to outline and hop right into writing that draft. All right, so anyway, let me know if you find this helpful. Start drafting some ideas, start doing some pre-writes, getting your ideas down, and definitely hop on that discussion board to see what we are doing.